Hello, and welcome to Victoria 3. I never thought the day would come. I'm a huge fan of Paradox games in general, but specifically Victoria, the 19th century, more specifically, which I suppose maybe is less specifically, like the French Revolution, the American Revolution, through World War One is my favorite era of history, if you want to extend it a little bit on each side. And Victoria does not go before the 19th century. This game starts in 1836, but it ends in 1936. So we do get to go through World War One. We get to go through this abundantly interesting century of upheaval and change and progress, and also of atrocity and heartbreak. Yeah, I didn't really plan what I was going to say when I started this. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling a bit. I'm very excited. I love this game. I've been waiting years and years and years for Victoria 3. I thought it would never come. Everyone thought it would never happen. It was a meme within the Paradox community. But last year it got announced, and I felt like a trick was being played on me, but it's here. It's real. I have played about 40 hours. The game came out last week. I have completed a playthrough as Brazil from beginning to end. I ended as the number 4 world power. Things went quite well. I had a colonial empire and overseas territories and all that good stuff. I controlled basically all of South America, either directly or through puppets. My first game was as Italy. I abandoned ship on that one in the 1880s, not because things were going poorly. They weren't going great, but they were going like fine for a first game. I would say I was a great power. My economy was functioning, which is not always easy to do in this game. But I kind of got cucked by the AI. Austria. I don't know what's going on. Maybe the AI needs to be tweaked a little bit. We'll get into a lot of the things that can and maybe will possibly be tweaked in the future of this game. But Austria formed Gross Deutschland, Super Germany, whatever you want to call it. It was like Austria and Prussia and all the German minors combined into Germany. And my long-term goal for that game was to reclaim the northeastern Italian territory that was controlled by Austria. That didn't happen. And I was like, well, I'm clearly not going to beat Super Germany in my first game. So I just kind of jumped ship, went to Brazil. Now you can see I'm currently playing as Korea, or Joseon. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I apologize. In another private offline or off-camera playthrough that I'm in the middle of. But I've been going back and forth about if I would record this game. Wait, did I just click on the wrong? Was that did I just randomly pick a country? Oh no, okay. I don't know why I was so confused. I was going back and forth all week and a half, because I'm recording this on Thursday. The game came out on Tuesday. They just today released their first dev diary since the game came out. And when I say the game came out on Tuesday, I mean last Tuesday. So 9 days ago. They just released their first post-launch dev diary detailing future plans for free patches and stuff. The game, I think, is fantastic. This is not a review video, but I think the game is wonderful. There are, of course, issues and things that need to be tweaked and fixed and changed, as there are with all games. Overall, I would say this game is a resounding success. I'm extremely happy with it. Brazil was so much fun. It's honestly one of the most fun games I've ever done in any Paradox game. You know, Crusader Kings, Europa Universalis, Hearts of Iron, Stellaris, Imperator, LOL, Victoria 2, whatever. This might take the cake for me. First of all, look at this color. Is this not the most beautiful color you've ever seen in your life? I want this color on my walls. This I don't even really know what to call it. This seafoam green. Oh my god, it's gorgeous. I thought about doing a smaller country with a small market to kind of make this almost like a tutorial series. I think I might make a tutorial video, not a series, but a single video. I haven't decided yet, but I think now that I actually have my sea legs underneath me, I have about 40 hours in this game. Why don't we tackle the beast? The United States of America. I've heard there are some issues, not so much in that the game is unfun for the player, but the United States I think is just perhaps too easy to play right now, which is, I mean, that's strategy games for you. It's always going to be easy for players who know how the game works. But apparently it's very easy to avoid the Civil War. I don't really have a long-term... Oh, actually, I do have a long-term goal. My goal is to... There's an achievement for having 100 incorporated states as the United States, which seems like a really difficult achievement, and I don't really... I wouldn't bet on us pulling it off, but we're going to give it our best. We're going to obviously accomplish Manifest Destiny and push to the West Coast, but I would love to conquer Mexico and Canada, perhaps. We're going to try to purchase Russia, or not Russia, but Alaska from Russia, and we're going to have a burgeoning colonial empire. So we're kind of just going to play, like, historical on steroids. Like, we're going to try to, like, liberalize and industrialize all that good stuff, but we're also going to, like, maybe do some modern-day U.S. stuff of sticking our nose where we don't belong overseas and getting involved. I would love to unseat the UK and France as the number one great power. France seems kind of OP, which, you know, they're kind of OP in real life historically. But every game I've played so far, France has been, like, so far ahead of every other country, including the UK, as the number one great power. Their GDP is, like, double the next closest. They have the biggest army. They have the most colonies. And I'll kind of explain some of my issues with France and colonies as we get into the game. But let's go ahead and just get started here. My solemn vow, and by solemn vow I mean something that I'm hoping happens, but I can't guarantee it. My goal is to play this game largely unpaused on Speed 4. I think, you know, playing a strategy game on camera is very different from playing a game off camera. Both in that at times you move too quickly, and at times you move too slowly. So, like, offline, when I'm playing off camera, I can just leave the game paused. I can pause every 5 seconds, and, like, every time anything happens, every time I'm looking through my market and my building, the game is paused. I don't want to subject you to that, because I don't want this game this series, excuse me, to go on forever and ever and ever. I would like it to have somewhat of a non-glacial pace. But also, when I'm playing, I can quickly do things and click buttons and go through like 12 different screens in less than 30 seconds, and without explaining what I'm doing, because I know what I'm doing and I've done it 100 times. I will do my best to simultaneously not leave the game paused forever, and also kind of at least try to explain what I'm doing. Again, this is not a tutorial, but hopefully, you know, you should at least understand what and why I'm doing, instead of just, you know, watching buttons pop up and colors change. Now, this first episode might be the exception in that we're going to spend a long time paused, just because we're going to have to kind of go through some stuff and explain some very basic stuff. I'm a little bit scared. By the end of my Brazil game, like I said, I controlled like all of South America, basically. I had a bunch of territory in Africa, Indonesia, Southeast Asia. I had colonies. I had Hawaii as a puppet. I had colonies in Oceania, Australia, and New Zealand, which you're going to be thinking, what the hell? As Brazil? Yeah. So I had a lot of states by the end of the game, but I did not have that much to start with. You can see Brazil actually starts at war with 2 other countries here. They only have, I don't know, maybe 10 states to start off with. I don't know what, oh, I just zoomed in on a Brazilian state. I did not mean to do that. The United States starts with probably 25 to 30 states. I'm not going to count them all up. There might be perhaps there's a way to look through all of these. Yeah, there they are. And we're only going to get bigger, and if we're going to get the achievement for 100 states, there's going to be so much information. I'm really worried about it being overwhelmed and the micro being a little bit insane, but we're going to do our best here. Now, we need to take a look and see what the current situation of our country is. And we start with good ol', and certainly not actually good ol', but, you know, Andrew Jackson. Everyone knows him, or at least if you're American, most people know who he is. Not the most beloved historic figure, but yeah, I would say he's bigoted. He's a political operator. He is part of the rural folk. So let's look at our interest groups here. We have the intelligentsia and the petite bourgeoisie. They form the Whig Party. The industrialists, evangelicals, and armed forces are all like independent factions here, and the Democratic Party is made up of the Southern planters and the rural folk. That is who is currently in charge. We have... what are our laws? We have colonial resettlement. I would prefer colonial exploitation. Well, I don't know that I would, because we're gonna be expanding so much to the west, and we don't want to exploit these. We want to incorporate them, and have migration attractions. But to start off with, maybe resettlement is best, and then eventually we switch to exploitation. We are a presidential republic. We have census suffrage, racial segregation, total separation of church and state. I don't know about in practice that we have that, but on paper we do. Elected bureaucrats, like national militia. No home affairs, which means basically that we can't invest in our home affairs institution, which I'll explain at a later time. We have an interventionist economic system, a protectionist trade policy. Interesting. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. A per capita taxation, colonial resettlement, a local police force which empowers the southern planters, aka the landowners. That's the generic name of this interest group. Again, this is not a tutorial. I've said it 100 times. I apologize. I'm going to stop saying it so much. But so I'm not going to go into like what an interest group is, but I'm assuming if you're watching this, you're probably a little bit familiar with how the game works. Public schools, no healthcare system. Feels bad, man. Still true. Right of assembly. Serfdom is abolished. Child labor is allowed. Damn right, brother. Legal guardianship of women. We have no social security, no migration controls, and this little thing called slavery. This is going to be our first thing, or not our first thing, but our first priority to get rid of. Because, obviously ignoring the abhorrent moral problems with slavery. Purely from an economic point of view, slavery is bad for this country. Because slaves cannot buy things. And we, as good capitalists, would never deprive a human being the right to give us money. So we need to free the slaves so that they can be functioning members of our economy and purchase things that we produce. Now, this is where the game might get scary, is when I start to look at what we have in every state. There's no way I'm going to be able to keep track of this. We do have the White House. Ever heard of it? Is a monument. I have monuments on like their default mode, which means they're like, they provide larger than life bonuses. I know some people don't like that. My response to that is simply get over it. It gives us plus 20% government administration building throughput, and plus 500 bureaucrats. So, plus 20% government administration throughput basically means we're going to be getting a lot more bureaucracy and taxation capacity and urbanization from our government administration buildings, which is very nice. Wait, does that only apply, like, in DC? That might only apply in DC. Let me look at our government administration buildings here. Ah, okay, it does only apply in DC. Alright, okay, that makes sense, because that would be, like, kind of insane if the whole country got extra... I mean, we would never run out of bureaucracy or taxation capacity if that were the case. Still, we also have this little guy down here called Texas, who starts the game at war with Mexico. They are not currently... involved, or they're not like diplomatically tied to the United States in any way. I've done zero research for this playthrough. I hadn't even fired up the game as the United States to like look at the situation. I haven't watched anyone else play the U.S. I haven't read about it, other than a couple of things like it's really easy to avoid the Civil War, and that the Western expedition, the frontier, mapping the frontier expedition might like be bugged or something. I don't know. But yeah, we're gonna have to deal with Texas and the U.S. Right now, we're gobbling up all this indigenous land America, baby. And honestly, we should try to gobble up this Canadian land as well. I mean, it's not technically Canadian land yet, but today it is Canadian land. I would like to beat them to that. I believe we should have a huge bonus to our colonization speed because it is based on our total population, I think, and our population is 15.7 million compared to the Hudson Bay Company's 247,000. You know, so we're like, I don't know, somewhere between 70 and 100 times more populous than they are. Let's open our journal. We have Texan statehood. We're going to pin both of these. If relations between Texas and the United States are greater than or equal to 20, and Texas is at peace and not a subject of another nation, Texas will decide whether to accept U.S. statehood. The war is already ongoing, I believe. Yes, so we can't really get involved. So we just have to hope that Texas wins. The slavery debate. Slaveholders and abolitionists are engaged in increasingly rancorous debate across the nation. Sooner or later, the arguments will stop being made with words and start being made with bullets. Inshallah, that does not happen. The following must be true for a total of 10 years. We have, if we slave, oh my god, if we ban slavery for 10 years, we will lose the Missouri Compromise, which gives the landowners, aka the Southern planters, plus 25% political strength. Good God. Yeah, we gotta work on that. So, let's look at our market. This is the end all be all. This is what the game is really about. Is the market. Tools are expensive. Groceries are expensive. Clippers are expensive. I'm just looking through like some paper is expensive. Artillery is expensive. But generally, okay, it looks like a lot of things are expensive. Like iron, tools, groceries are like a good starting option for industry. Fabric, paper, and grain is also good. These are all just things you're like going to be using a lot throughout the whole game. So tools and iron in general are what I like to focus on because that enables faster construction. Are we currently building anything? No. I don't think any countries start building anything. That would be weird. We do start on iron frame buildings, which is nice because a lot of times like building up the economy to the point that it can support this is kind of annoying. We have a gold reserve surplus of $3 million or pounds, excuse me. I'm going to call them dollars the entire game. You're just going to have to get over it. We also have a weekly surplus of 21.2 thousand pound dollars. So it's actually, we want to spend our money, which we will, trust me, we will do. As soon as we start building, it's going to suck up a lot of money. The question is, what are we going to build? We have 10 food industries, 10 textile mills, 9 furniture manufacturers, 10 glassworks, 5 tooling workshops. These are all located in New York. That's probably what we're going to start with. We have 5 paper mills. We have 3 chemical plants that are not making any money in Indiana and Ohio. Probably because there's not really a demand for fertilizer. Yeah, the only people using fertilizer in the entirety of the American market are corn farmers in Indiana. They're just ahead of the curve here. And, you know, the chemicals are being made in Indiana, so they're trying to supply themselves. But, we'll probably wind up switching, like, all of our rural industry in the whole country over to, I believe, like, what's it called, intensive agriculture, because they kind of, like, feed itself. I'll go over it in just a second once we get to the rural section. We've got steel mills in Pennsylvania that are not making any money, probably because no one is buying steel in 1836. Yeah, literally not a single person. Why do these exist? I'm tempted to just get rid of you immediately, because you're not. It's going to be a couple decades before we start doing anything with steel, I feel like. Shipyards, 5 of them. 6 arms industries, we're going to need a lot more of those. 1 munitions plant, we're going to need a lot more of those. And then urban centers automatically develop over time through just the sprawl of your urban buildings. That represents like the size of your cities, basically. Government administration produces bureaucracy and taxation capacity. There's 3 main capacities here: bureaucracy, authority, and influence. Again, I'm sorry, I keep saying it. It's not a tutorial. If I tried to explain every single little thing, we'd be here for 50 hours before we unpaused. We have 6 universities: New York, Kentucky, and Massachusetts. And when I say 6, I mean we have 6 levels of universities. We only have 3 universities, I suppose. Like, this is all abstracted. This is how strategy games works. Again, if you're here, I assume you know all that. We have a lot of trade centers as well. And let's look at the rural folk. We've got a bunch of wheat farms, a hella corn. Still true today. I assume it's mostly in the Midwest. Virginia, Missouri, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, District of Columbia, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Illinois, North Carolina, South Carolina. All right. Livestock ranches, coal mines, iron mines, lead mines, sulfur mines, cotton plantations, tobacco plantations, sugar plantations, logging camps, fishing wharves, whaling stations, and the dreaded subsistence farm. This is where people who are not employed by any of these other buildings that we just went through, urban, rural development, construction, anyone who is unemployed, although not technically unemployed because that is a different thing, if they can't find a job in one of these real places, they go work on a subsistence farm. Basically, that means they live at home, they have their own farm, they produce what they need, but they're not really contributing to the economy in a substantial way. It makes a little bit of fabric, a little bit of wood, a little bit of grain, and a little bit of services. And we have apparently 10 million, 11 million people working on subsistence farms. That is disgusting. We got our barracks, our conscription centers, our naval. We start with a... What was our military? We don't have a professional army. Yeah, we have a national militia, which means right now we're relying on a non-standing army with conscripted people as needed. That's going to be not one of the first things we change, but soon after. I would like to have a standing professional army. If we're going to attempt to contend with these fucks over here, we're going to need to be able to project power with a permanent military. Naval base, port, develops convoys to use for trade, and construction sectors. So I think I would like to immediately switch all of our farms to soil enriching farming. It's going to dramatically increase the demand for fertilizer. But also, we're going to switch our livestock to intensive grazing, which will produce more fabric and more fertilizer and consume more grain. But this consumes more fertilizer and produces more grain. So it's kind of like they feed each other. That's what I was talking about earlier. We're still going to have a deficit of fertilizer for sure. So we need to expand. See, now these were not making any money early on. Now they are raking in bucks. We haven't even unpaused yet. Because now the demand for fertilizer is going to go out of control. It hasn't showed up here yet because we're unpaused. But I think these are both good early options for expansion. I'll add 2 each. What do you got going on here? I don't know that we need explosives. I don't know that we don't need explosives. Are we using like nitroglycerin or dynamite or anything? We should probably look at our tech tree. We are not... Okay, we don't even have nitroglycerin unlocked. So we're probably not really using explosives other than maybe making some artillery in our arms industries. No, you just consume iron. Do you use explosives? Who uses explosives? Yes, okay, you consume explosives to make ammunition. So, I think we should probably expand our iron mines just because you always need more iron mines. We will open this handy-dandy contextual production lens, one of the best features of the game. And I'm going to say, much like they are in real life, I think Virginia and West Virginia are going to be our coal suppliers, at least to start off with. Why don't you go ahead and give me like 5 more? Honestly, we might want even more than that, but let's start with this. Let's start a little slowly, and then I want more tools. And we have a level 5 tool industry in New York. That's good and cool, but I want to spread the wealth around a little bit. New York, I'm sure, is going to have its fair share at a lot of different industries, or fair share of, you know, depending on what phrase you want to use. I think we should perhaps let another state get in on the tool production. What about... Let's sort by number of peasants. This is all... I'm probably being a little too picky here. We could go... Illinois, maybe? What are you rocking with? You have 0 urban lads. That's disgusting. I don't really know, like, historically when Chicago started to take off. I imagine, yeah, it's a little baby town here in 1836. But we'll let you grow. Tech trees split into production, military, and society. We generally, okay, well, the U.S. starts with more research than either or any of the 3 nations I've played so far, which makes sense. Intensive agriculture, which we clearly already had because I was using it, and mechanical tools tend to be like good early targets, I think, if you don't start with them. Canneries could be good. That would allow us to increase our grocery output. Society, where are we down here? We could go for... we already have quinine. Oh, daddy. Okay, so we have the potential to colonize very, very quickly. Modern sewage would allow us to build more construction. This would give us maximum cash reserves. We're already about halfway to our cash reserves, but as soon as we start building, I think that is going to change. Well, actually, maybe not. But yeah, that's already accounted for the construction, and we're still turning a profit. So maximum cash reserves might be a good idea, but again, I prefer to deficit spend. So if we have a surplus, to me that just means I need to be spending more money, or cut taxes or something. We don't really need steel, so I think we might go for canneries off the bat here. And then we looked at these. Negotiate the Alaska Purchase. This is obviously a while from now, but what are we going to need? We need to own all of Washington, so we're going to have to get this from the British, which probably requires... I think that requires you to map the frontier? Alright, yeah. We're about to unpause, I promise. I would like to pin my interest groups. I like to have them right there, because it makes it easy to see like what their approval rating is very quickly. Commanders, I do keep pinned, generally. Okay, and this is good. These states are not... or a lot of our states are not incorporated. Let's take a quick look. There we go. Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa, Arkansas, and Florida are not incorporated, which means they are not paying taxes. They are also not receiving the benefits of our institutions. Speaking of which, let's take a look at our institutions. We've got level 2 colonial affairs, education, and law enforcement. This allows us to colonize faster. This gives us better access to education and faster assimilation. And this gives landowners strength and reduces turmoil. So I'm actually going to drop you immediately, because I don't want the landowners to have strength. And I believe that's because we have local police force, right? So we might want to, like, immediately get rid of that. And by immediately, I mean that is literally the first law we're going to pass. So I actually don't think I need to drop you, because once we change from local police force to dedicated police force, the landowners will no longer receive a political strength bonus from that. We're losing an interest in the Great Plains. What the hell are you talking about? Why would that ever happen? That doesn't make any damn sense. Okay, well, as soon as we get colonies here, we're going to have an interest there anyway. We have 5 battalions in reserve. We only have 11 regulars. That is, like, professional military. And Zachary Taylor and Winfield Scott, ever heard of them? They're holding by. Winfield's stationed up in New England. Zachary Taylor's out in the Midwest. I am going to... You're only 51. You're 49. What are your traits? You support the evangelicals, which I don't like. You support the armed forces, which I much prefer. You're cautious. Congrats on the promotion. This is probably not necessary at the moment, but it at least allows him to... Oh wait, I'm dumb. That was not... I for some reason, I didn't even look to see where my regulars were stationed. They are all stationed in Dixie. aka the South. I don't, as long as you don't support the Southern planters or the rural folk, I'm happy with you. So you are meticulous, which gives extra offense, recovery rate, blah blah blah, and you're an explorer, which will be useful later. You are an experienced naval commander, which I don't care about, and tactful. I will go with the meticulous man, Thomas Jessup. Lead my Southern boys. Just out of curiosity, I am from Arkansas in real life. I just want to look at what we got going on here. I can't imagine there's too much happening, other than some crimes against humanity. But we have a lot of potential for lead. Alright, so Arkansas will be our lead state. It's good to know. Speaking of which, I'm about to unpause, like, within the next 90 seconds. You have my word. I just want to take a look at a few things. So sulfur, we have access to California. We gotta reach the coast, man. Iowa and California are our big sulfur areas. What about oil? I mean, we're not going to need oil for a while, and plus I feel confident that I know where the oil is based on just living in the real world. Arkansas, Missouri, and Illinois. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't realize there was such a lead concentration here in the middle of the United States. And then iron. Okay, just trying to keep things in mind for where I might want to expand in the future. And we are going to officially hold. We need to build government administration buildings in New York, and we also need to build like a port or something in New York. Before I unpause, we're going to do that. You were only like, yeah, I think we can get away with just one of you, and probably going to want two here eventually. Although ports are government run, we're unpausing. And when I say they're government run, that means we're going to have to pay for the people who work there and all the stuff they have to buy. So, like, just expanding them willy-nilly is not really the best idea. 32 minutes into this video, we have unpaused. I'm going to go a little bit longer because it's the first video. Future videos, or at least the next few, will probably be around 30 minutes. I might do, like, an hour long every 5 videos or something. Maybe if we can hit, like, some like targets. You would think I would think about all this stuff before I start recording. I literally wasn't even planning on recording an hour ago, and then I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna make a United States series, and I just sat down and started doing it with zero prep. I'm really good at this, can't you tell? We have Worcester versus Georgia. President Andrew Jackson has defied the ruling of the Supreme Court and ordered the removal of the Cherokee people to the Indian Territory. What does the Supreme Court's opinion matter? All we need to do is build a fire under them, and when it gets hot enough, they'll move. And what's ours will be ours. Well, don't even really know what to say. Is that even legal? My lord, is that legal? Colonizing over here, making relatively quick progress. It is being split between all of these. If I were setting these up, I would not be colonizing this much this quickly, especially here, because this is inside of our territory, so we don't have to worry about anyone else colonizing. Same with Pawnee and Great Sioux. I'd probably be focusing on Comanche and Arapaho. We have some more. I see I'm doing that thing where I pause. Let's unpause. Oh, City of Plenty. The most prominent members of New York high society have been organizing luxurious parties in the new and lavish urban buildings. Let them celebrate, or the party will never end. I always do let them celebrate because I don't want to raise their expected minimum standard of living. And we have the Abolitionists Martin. Okay, this is an event I haven't seen, so I'm going to pause. I apologize. Alright, these background noises. An ardent abolitionist writer died in a firefight against a pro-slavery mob, which had gathered in front of his house. The story has gone national and radicalized previously apathetic individuals, high and low. His friends sighed. The funeral had been small, lest the mob appear in force again. The gravestone itself was simple, not calling attention to itself. The only embellishment that had been allowed was a simple inscription. Here lies a brave man, now spare his grave. Ghastly! This violence of slavers must be resisted! Henry Clay, who is the leader of the intelligentsia, actually I don't know if he's the leader, but he's a member of the intelligentsia, will change his ideology to abolitionist. He is currently a pacifist. Or the abolition agenda must be stopped. Cornelius Vanderbilt will change to slaver. He's an industrialist and a moderate. Well, we're clearly going to go with Henry Clay becoming an abolitionist, and the violence of the slavers must be resisted. So is he the leader of the intelligentsia? I assume he is. Yes. Let's take a look-see. Since I'm American, I'm probably going to be familiar with most of these people to some degree. We've got good old John Calhoun, and again, when I say good old, I don't really mean it. That's just something I say, apparently. Cornelius Vanderbilt, little sack of shit. Although I'm actually probably going to be friends with him in the game because I want to industrialize. Henry Clay, he ran for president like 4 times, right? Something like that. This snake, Daniel Webster. I definitely have heard of him because I used to think is he the guy who did the Webster's dictionary? Now I can't remember. The Webster was not an uncommon name back then. Winfield Scott, who was a general for the Union during the Civil War, and Charles Finney. Again, someone I've heard of, but I don't really know anything about them. And then our trade unions. Robert Rantoul. Definitely have never heard of you. I don't know if you're a real person. I assume you are. I imagine you are. But who knows? How is the war going, Texas? You are losing to Mexico currently. The Indian Territory, by the way, is our puppet. It's not technically part of our country, but they pay us 141 pounds a week because their economy is non-existent. And I believe puppets paid 20% of their income a week, something like that. So we're building our chemical plants. Let's take a look at the budget. Our taxes are already quite low, and we're still making money. Where is all this money coming from? Tariffs, taxes, and minting. Speaking of minting, all right. I gotta stop pausing. I apologize. I just want to make sure there's nothing crazy going on. Looks pretty standard. I'm assuming we don't have any gold mines. That would be kind of nuts. Okay, yeah. But I know that you have at least one gold mine somewhere, right? But the problem is I don't know what state it's in. Oh, okay. I want to, like, look at gold. Okay. Arizona, I guess, is what that is. Has some gold, and then Central Mexico and South America have a lot of gold. So we're probably, I mean, if we really do accomplish our goal of conquering Mexico, we'll have some. But I don't really think we're going to be coming down here. Although our market might be coming down there. But gold just dramatically increases your minting, I believe, is how that works. Which basically just gives you a bunch of money. I guess we're going to drop our taxes even more for now. Actually, no. What we should be doing is building more construction sectors. John Ross's protest petition. Chief John Ross, one of the principal Cherokee chiefs, has presented a petition to Congress asking them to void the treaty which will compel the Cherokee Nation to relocate to the Indian Territory. His petition has almost as many signatures as the entire Eastern Cherokee population. By the stipulations of this treaty, we are stripped of every attribute of freedom. Our property may be plundered before our eyes, violence may be committed on our persons, even our lives may be taken away, and there is none to regard our complaints. We are denationalized, disenfranchised, we are deprived of membership in the human family. A treaty is a treaty. We cannot rescind what we have signed. This will make the Southern planters happy, or our conscience compels us to void the removal treaty. This will stall further removals for 3 years, and it will piss off the Southern planters. Get pissed off. Yeah. Instead of dropping taxes, since they're already under default, if they were at default, that's probably what I've done. I think I should just build more construction sectors. This will allow us to build faster, obviously. And you know what? Let's throw one down. Let's go 2 down in Pennsylvania, just because they have a lot of untapped peasants. And actually, let's get those going right now. So yeah, we're kind of just chilling. I mean, that's kind of what this game is. This is an economic society builder. This is not a map painter, although we might be kind of forcing it in that direction with this particular playthrough. You know, you check your market, you see what you need, you see what... Oh, no, Texas. What are you doing? Alright, we might have to reclaim... Oh, excuse me, the Clay Proviso. Henry Clay, leader of the intelligentsia, has proposed outright prohibiting slavery in all of our new western territories. Some opponents demand simple moderation, while others are demanding legalization of slaves in all territories. This remains a state-by-state issue. This will piss off everyone. Accept a proviso and abolish slavery in the West. This will make everyone other than the Southern planters happy. Alright. We're gonna do that, obviously. Now, we're pissing off the Southern planters with something fierce. This might, what the hell? Why is only the east part of Texas occupied now? Did they win a battle? Anyway, by pissing off the Southern planters so frequently and consistently, we might be prompting a civil war. Again, I did zero research into the optimal strategy here as the United States. I do know that liberalizing in general is quite easy in this game. That's one of the complaints people have. My response to that, again, is that's just kind of reality. I mean, it wasn't... I'm not saying that it was easy in real life, but, like, that's kind of, like... That should be the default, is liberalizing and industrializing, because that's what most countries did during the 19th century. The atmospheric engine. Through the widespread introduction of the atmospheric engine in the mining industry, productivity is at an all-time high. We can get mine throughput or gain progress on the technology water tube boiler. For 5 years... I mean, I do want water tube boiler. You would give us about a third... Like exactly, no, not a little over a third, like 40% maybe, 35-40% of progress on this. I don't really think it's worth it, to be honest with you, but I'm gonna do it for a couple of reasons. One, I really want this technology. Two, there's an achievement for researching everything, and I was literally 2 techs away as Brazil in 1936, and America starts with more tech already researched at the start of the game, and we should like have a larger population and more universities and stuff, so I'm hoping that I can get all the technologies researched by the end of this game. Rousing speech captivates the public. This is about our police law. This afternoon, Daniel Webster, leader of the Petite Bourgeoisie, delivered a fiery speech advocating for the enactment of dedicated police force. Making an appearance before the public in Washington's main square, Daniel Webster's, powerful rhetoric left even his most embittered political opponents impressed. Excerpts from the speech are already being circulated across the United States of America, fanning the fires of an already roaring debate. Plus 15% success chance, or plus 10% success chance, and boost the popularity of his party and him himself. No, I don't foresee myself being a huge friend of the Petite Bourgeoisie. If it goes the way I think this is going to go, I would imagine the industrialists, the intelligentsia, the armed forces, the trade unions will be my primary partners for the majority of this campaign. Perhaps the rural folk, once they expand, once they get away from the radicalism. The Southern planters and the evangelicals, I will almost certainly never be friends with. Petite Bourgeoisie could probably wind up going either way, but I will say likely no. Although they have... I was playing on an older version of the game. They released a patch a couple of days ago that I haven't played with until now. Well, actually, that's not true. My Korea game, I was playing on it as well. But now, government wages affect both the intelligentsia and the petite bourgeoisie. They used to only affect the intelligentsia. So, maybe we'll keep the petite bourgeoisie a little happy, just because I will be trying to keep the intelligentsia happy. Artillery is expensive. Market access is dropping even further in New York. We should probably prioritize these ports. I'm going to let you finish one of these. Also, let me look at this. Oh. There's an iron shortage, which means there's a fertilizer shortage. Okay. So, actually, expanding you isn't going to do anything for us until we expand these iron mines. We'll start like that, I guess. we're probably going to wrap up this episode here pretty soon. Oh, we're at 4. We might as well make it an hour. Like, I can't imagine there's too many people that are like, I'm willing to sit through 45 minutes of Victoria 3, but not an hour. You have lost me as a viewer, good sir. We are basically breaking even, which is not inherently bad. It's not inherently good. Again, I prefer to deficit spend. I think we could probably afford at least one more construction sector. Okay, we had an election. Let's take a look at our results here. The Democrats won. First of all, yeah. They got 57 to 43. Not super close, but also not as far apart as a lot of the elections I've had in this game. In Brazil, my elections were coming in like 75-80% for my main party, which was at various times like the Communist Party and Social Democratic Party, the Progressive League, stuff like that. We are a presidential republic, which means... What does that mean? I've been playing as parliamentary republics. Plus 15 legitimacy from including the head of state in government. And our head of state is Andrew Jackson. Minus 10% reduced legitimacy penalty from size of government. And plus 0.2 legitimacy from government clout. So yeah, I prefer parliament because you get less legitimacy from your head of state being his party being included in government, which means if you really don't like his party, you can push them out with a smaller penalty, and you are allowed to have more parties in government because you have a larger reduced a larger reduction to government size penalty. Sorry, it was hard for me to get out. So I don't think there would really be any reason for us to do this. I mean, it would increase our legitimacy, actually. I didn't think that would be the case. I guess because it's parties, the nice thing about parties is that they allow multiple interest groups to become involved without really affecting the size. Because this is still only 2 parties, even though it's 4 interest groups. If they were 4 separate interest groups, we would have a size government penalty, I think. We still do. But not enough to overtake their clout. Now the problem is, I don't really want the evangelicals in power. You strongly endorse monarchy. That's insane. I mean, a monarchist, like, state religion the United States run could be fun in the future, but that is not what we're doing here. Alright, fine. We'll do this. Probably not really going to change anything. Actually, I think that, yeah, that increased our support for... Alright, Brazil has won one of their wars. It looks like Texas got annexed, by the way. Faith knows no borders. The evangelicals wish to strengthen their ties to the Hudson Bay Company through our shared faith. He stopped for a moment, wiping his brow. Then he noticed the Hudson Bay farmhand on the adjacent field seemed to be knelt down in a furrow. Confused, he peered over, finally noticing that the man was deep in prayer. He should have recognized it, but it had never crossed his mind what they might have in common. Okay, we have dedicated police, by the way. So that drops the clout of our southern planters dramatically, I think like 10-15%. And they are mad. But not mad enough for me to care. Everyone else is happy about this. And we get fewer radicals from standard of living decreases, less turmoil penalties. It's all around good, other than the fact that cops exist. This is kind of funny. This guy's like, it never occurred to me that Canadians would be Christian. Bro, what are you talking about? Despite differences, we must cherish our shared values. This would make the evangelicals happy, but also improve relations with the Hudson Bay Company. We are American first, Protestant second. Absolutely. And it's not like that hurt our relationship with you. And like I said, eventually we're going to hopefully be able to conquer you. That's going to require us to go to war with the UK. So that might be a while. We'll probably expand the south before we expand the north. But we got to unite Alaska and Washington. Neither of which are in our possession. English is hard for me to speak sometimes. Alright. Steel is going up. Does that mean people are buying steel now? Yes, tooling workshops are buying steel. Okay. I guess we have, what's it called? Pig iron tools? Steel. Oh, no, we have steel tools. Okay. But you're still not doing too well. Because iron is so damn expensive. Alright, we gotta get iron going. And I also would like to, get another construction sector going in Pennsylvania. Honestly, maybe even 2. And, well, that didn't do anything. Yeah, let's do something like that. Oh, wait, Quelle surprise! We were not paused. I just naturally assumed that I had the game paused. It's going to take me a while to get used to it, but hopefully by, like, episode 3 or 4, we're mostly running unpaused. Two Sicilies and Great Britain are no longer rivals. Two Sicilies was, by the way, when I said I played as Italy, that was who I started as. I think they're a very good country to start with for if you haven't played the game before. They have a small market, not very many states, but they have the potential to grow and become very powerful. Italy is probably a little too easy to form right now, and by little I mean extremely too easy to form. I formed Italy like in like 1841 or something like that. It might have been like 46, 47. It was in the 1840s though. Is anyone doing any colonizing down here? Yes. So I would like to get in on that, but I never colonize West Africa. I always want to colonize here, which requires malaria prevention. I mean, it doesn't require it, but it makes it more feasible, I would say. Speaking of which, how are our colonies over here doing? They're doing okay. Let's look at some journals. Whoa. Alright, these are just like generic things that every game gets. Central Archives, Urbanization, Patronizing Romanticism, the whaling industry. If we can get whaling stations to have a cash reserve greater than 20, a weekly profit greater than 0, workforce occupancy greater than 75%, and building level greater than or equal to 3, then we will get this. I think we can do that. Where is our whaling station? Massachusetts? Makes sense. You're not super duper profitable. I'll expand you. I don't really expect this to work out. Because, like, meat... I mean, meat is kind of profitable for you. I mean, you are turning a profit. But your productivity is just not very high. Alright, we've got our new construction sectors in. Our budget is now kind of where I would want it to be. I like to lose... I mean, it sounds weird, but I'd like to be losing early on. I mean, the United States is such a different beast because they're so much more economically powerful at the start of the game than all these other countries I've been playing. But I would like to lose around this much, I think. I think we could probably honestly stand to lose a little more. What is our credit limit? 10 million. And that'll go up as we research new technologies and stuff. We could probably afford to build even more. But I wanna get through what we have set up. Where we keep adding things and pushing them to the front. This iron specifically, I'm very curious about. I suppose I could play on speed 5. We'll speed 5 at least through the end of this episode. There's only about 5 minutes left at most. So I just want to see what the impact these mines have on our iron prices. We're still... I believe a shortage starts when... Yeah, buy orders are more than double sell orders. We have at least gotten rid of the shortage, but it's still very expensive. So, because we're building... And we're kind of exacerbating the problem, Jesus, by continuing to build all these construction sectors, because we're just increasing the demand for iron. Look, 467 out of 628 orders are coming from us building things. Slaves have risen up in Wisconsin. They are not a significant force yet, and there are multiple ways to approach them. We want freedom, we want retribution. Does that really surprise you? Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves. Negotiate with the revolt's leaders to defuse this, or we do not negotiate with insurrectionists. We'll make 60% of slave pops in Wisconsin more radical. It'll make the planters happy, though. Or we could make aristocrats and a smaller amount of slaves radical and upset the southern planters. I'm obviously doing that. I don't think Wisconsin had slaves in the 1830s. I might be wrong. I totally could be wrong. Oh, we also passed our law, so I should be trying to, like... Yeah, we already could... Yeah, see, this is a little easy, but we already have a 27% chance of banning slavery. We're going to save that for the next episode, though. The last thing we're going to do in this episode is... start incorporating some states. And by that, I mean all of them. There's no reason not to. Because we're obviously going to incorporate, like, all of these eventually. And hopefully these. And hopefully these. I don't really know what that would put us at. So the achievements to have 100 incorporated states, that seems absurd. And once you get outside of your shared heritage, like... Let me cancel you just to... Look at this. It takes 2 years since it is a homeland of the United States of America due to its Yankee culture. Okay. But then, let's look like at Wyoming. Okay, I can't do this because it's a colony. I don't really, it's like, so there's 3 different tiers. 2 years, 5 years, and 20 years. If it's one of the homelands of your culture, it takes only 2 years. If you have a shared heritage, which I think Canada might, or like Canadian states. Yeah, you're the homelands of Anglo-Canadians, cultural traits, Anglophone, and European heritage. Yankee is Anglophone and European heritage, and Dixie, I assume, as well. Yes. I actually don't know. Are African American... If we pass laws to get rid of discrimination, I assume African Americans would become part of our, like, home cultures, which would that allow us to incorporate African states. That would be kind of crazy because they have African heritage. But so I think the Canadian states and possibly African states, if this works the way it might, would take 5 years to incorporate. So that's not that bad. But well, actually, I guess you would also have European heritage. So yeah, maybe all of these would take 5 years. The only ones that would take 20 years are the ones that only have native homelands. Like this. Paiute. Indigenous American heritage, Indigenous North American. Now, I'm sure there are some events to change the lower 48 states to all, like, Yankee homeland or something. But, I'm not sure. Is there, like, a cultures map mode? There is. Yeah, so, like, Cree probably couldn't... That would probably take 20 years. Métis would probably take 20 years. Cree... All of these would take 20 years. Athabascan... Now, again, there might be an event specifically for Alaska. Ooh, damn. Okay, anyway, that's enough. This video has gone on for an hour. I thank you sincerely for watching, and since this is the first episode of this series, and since I have an exceptionally small channel to begin with, I would really appreciate it if you leave a like and subscribe, show your support, leave a comment. Yeah, and if we get enough interest and feedback on this first episode, I might consider making future episodes longer. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching either way, and I will see you guys again next time. Bye-bye.